Today was a weird day. I woke up and I went to an art museum with my girlfriend. Well, after a few steps like breakfast and shower, but that's not relevant. I went to this art museum. We've been planning about doing this for several months. We've been to another one. We went to this one because she's been wanting to go to it. And we went. It was great. Today's Good Friday. The first few paintings in the first, I don't know if you could necessarily call it an exhibit, but the first group area of paintings and sculptures and stuff that we looked at was mostly about Jesus. And I'm not super religious. I call myself a Christian, but I haven't been to church in a solid year and a half. I went one time with one of my friends. And before that, maybe a good 5-10 years. This one painting in specific, if you've ever been to an art museum, there's a description next to the painting or sculpture piece of art that you're looking at. It tells you the person who made it, the year, time period, and a little description about what the painting's about and more of the detail behind it, history behind it. And I look at this painting and I'm intrigued, and so I look at the description and you're like, Colin, you read? I'm like, just a teeny tiny bit. So I read a little bit of this description, and this part caught my eye very heavily. Those who drink this water will get thirsty again, but whoever drinks the water I give them will never thirst. The hair on my arm stood up. I got goosebumps. I got chills reading that. I'm like, shoot. I just gave myself chills by reading that back to myself. Freaking pop filter, bro. Okay. But before this, my girlfriend did tell me that her and her mom were going to go to church. I originally was not attending this until I looked at another painting and I realized, man, this dude looks like a G. Him and his disciples, oh, they look goated. They look so loving and caring and affectionate. And I stared at the painting, specifically Jesus. And my eyes just started to water. And I kept looking at it. And my girlfriend asked me, are you okay? And I just say, I think I want a relationship with Jesus. And I cry on her shoulder for a good minute and a half. We spend a few more hours. We go to this special exhibit for things that are from Jerusalem. Things made of pure gold and silver. Things that the priests wore and things that were hung along the altar. All sorts of cool stuff. And then another piece that caught my eye, specifically at the beginning of this exhibit, was just a crucifix on top of just this giant mound of decorative gold. And inside this crucifix was a piece of the actual cross that Jesus was crucified on. And again, I'm not educated on any of this, by the way. I'm very out of touch, especially when it comes to religion and Christianity. But I know that this is pretty cool. I know that this is pretty sick. So we get done with the art show, and before this, my girlfriend asked me if I wanted to go to church with her after I'm done crying on her shoulder and being a little wimp. She's like, yeah, you should come to church with us. I'm like, all right. So we come back to my house, I change, and then I follow her on the way to her house, and then we leave and go to church with her mom. As I enter, looks the exact same as the church I went to with my friend a year and a half ago. Just maybe a few less seats, but there's a lot of people in attendance. Several hundred. I don't think I'd seen this many people since I was going to Christmas services in like 2015 with my family, when Christianity and the world were still alive and people still had faith in the world, including me. I was still joyous and I felt like there wasn't a piece of me missing. So the service starts, music starts, somebody speaks, music plays, somebody comes back to speak. Why are there tears coming down my face? Why am I profusely sobbing? And we did communion, so I guess that means you get to drink wine and eat bread. So as the pastor was telling us about breaking bread, and he just told us to hold the bread before we ate it. Son. Bulk. Like rainfall. Downpour through my face. I've never cried this much in my life. And the service just started. And it only got worse. It only got worse. The people speaking, just so, yes, it made me so happy. People say I'm well-spoken sometimes, and I appreciate that so much. But the amount of intensity and emotion in their voices, along with in the text that they were reading, oh my God, it was so captivating. And I've never been a person to appreciate that. At least for this amount of time. I'd usually be bored by now in my English class. My girlfriend loves that stuff. And she tries to get me to understand it, and I'm just like, I'm a little slow. So I'm like, yeah, that's pretty cool. But no. In a surreal amount of detail, they described and depicted and painted a story in my mind about the thorn helmet, or the thorn crown, that was placed on Jesus' head, and the blood that was profusely coming out of his head, and the amount of time that he was crucified for, and the way that everybody else was mocking him while he laid there on that cross to die, was something I've never been captivated by before in my life. Religion still scares me because it's a very touchy subject if you want to make it. I guess that's anything, but people get really mad if they're really into it about that stuff, and they didn't hold back, which is what I loved. It was raw, it was real, and they told every bit of detail that they could, and that only made it more enjoyable in a very weird way that my brain seemed to wrap around. And I just felt the lack of love for so long. And I guess God felt it too, because at one point, when he's finally talking about the cross, when the pastor's finally talking about the cross, I am already, like, my shirt is already, like, wet. Pause. My shirt already has my tears on it. My shirt already probably has some of my snot on it. I probably need to wash it. I just feel this dark black blanket feeling cover me. It's warm and it's dark and it's filled with nothing but love and joy and energy, and something that I can only describe as supernatural. I've I, I haven't cried that much ever. When my grandpa died when I was younger, not even close. Grandpa, I love you. I didn't know you as much, but I've never felt another feeling like this. My friend who I went to church with a year and a half ago told me he felt the touch of God, the grace of God, and I could only I he told me, and I can't like wrap my head around what that means. I couldn't. Now I know. He said, "You will know." Now I do. A blanket is what it feels like. But in the most powerful way that you can be absorbed by something in any aspect of your life. It is whole. It is real. And it is love. I'm not going to say this experience is for everybody, especially if you're in a different sort of religion. Maybe not a different denomination of Christianity. You can probably find it. But again, I'm not educated enough to know or say anything else. And that's not to say that whatever God or thing that you believe in can't do the same for you or can do the same for you. So I'm just putting that out there. But this is my relationship with the man upstairs. Happy Easter, everybody. Happy Good Friday. And I think this is a huge step in a better me. Have a good night, y'all.